With me this morning, it's Ms. Calicia Gregoire, who's the Sports Management Program Coordinator of UWI, FIFA, and CIES Postgraduate Diploma. With me as well is Professor Vidar Haldorsen of the University of Ireland, and he's a sports consultant as well. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, thank you.
Thank you for being here this morning. Now we're speaking about a public lecture series on the sports success of Iceland and how a small nation achieved international success in sports. So first I'll ask you, Professor, from Iceland, how is it that you went about, that the country Iceland went about, being so successful in international sports?
There is no single and complete answer for that, right. But we are in a kind of a sweet spot now. We have turned to more professionalism in recent years, but we also have important elements of amateurism. So we are in the sweet spot between amateurism and professionalism, which provides us with the best of both worlds. We're more professional in coaching and how we behave and what we do and all that. But we also have a great team spirit, and we haven't taken the play out of playing.
Right.
So we become more professional in recent years, but not too professional. So we are in a sweet spot, and we have some elements in our team which some other teams, bigger teams, are lacking in terms of team spirit and joint play and all that. So it's very complex, but this is a simple answer,
Oh, so it's pretty much, you said you're keeping the play in it, so it's keeping that togetherness and that connectivity almost amongst the players, so that there's that synergy, so to say. Like Trinidad and Tobago, Iceland is a small country, and there could probably be some comparisons in regards to the size of the population and the level of athletes that are put out. How does it marry to the programs we have here now, and what the level to which a small country like Iceland has achieved?
Well, I wouldn't be able to answer that. So I guess when we have the public lecture on Saturday, he will meet certain persons from the TTFA, the Federation, and they can see from what they marry and the structures that they have in place to see what we have in place, and probably get some ideas. They may not get everything or use everything that Iceland did, but what they can do is pick up on little ideas or little structures that are put in place to see how we can implement those things into our federation as well.
What would you say we're doing right so far, though, in Trinidad and Tobago?
I wouldn't be able to say that.
No problem. But, the lecture series is coming up, and that would be at where in UWI? Would it be on the UWI campus? Yes?
So let me just introduce why we have Professor Haldorsen here. So the UWI FIFA CIS Sports Management Program is a postgraduate diploma program for executive managers or persons who are involved in sports, the leaders in the administration or the agencies, association, federations. So it's providing the educational background and the management tools necessary for them to effectively run their associations, etc. It's an online program, so it's 90% online and 10% face-to-face. And the face-to-face session takes place every semester, a week-long residential session. And at the end of the face-to-face, we have the public lecture, which kind of ends off the entire face-to-face session. So we have a list of topics that we can choose from, and this is a particular topic that we saw that was important, that we need to, persons in the sporting industry needs to hear and see how did they go about it. What can we do as well to see how could we make changes in our sporting industry to see how we can even get back to that place that we were before.
All right. Well, Professor Haldorsen, could you share with us what are some of the main topics you're here to speak about for this public lecture series?
About the organization of sport, for one thing. How we organize sports, where we fund it, how it's funded. And also about the different teams. It's not only about football, it's also about all kinds of sport, other sports as well, because we have the same characteristics in the Icelandic teams, whether it's in football or basketball or whatever. And I'm also going to talk about the challenges of being a small nation, And I like to apologize, because Trinidad and Tobago, was the record holder for the smallest populated nation to qualify for the FIFA World Cup. But now we stole it from you, so I'm sorry, don't blame me.
Forgive me.
Yeah. But all kinds of things like that, and the challenges we face of being at the States now, and how can we sustain it? Like you qualified for one World Cup in men's football, but you weren't able to sustain it. But these are challenges we are facing now, and we can learn from you guys and Norway in the 1990s, in men's football, So we are trying to not make the same mistakes as some other nations made in the past. And we are trying to also remember what got us there in the first place. And we cannot really, miss that out. So I'm talking about a lot of things about youth sport, about elite sport, about organizational sport, team spirit and character. I try to take the whole package, As a sociologist, I have to look at, from all angles, really,
Oh, yes, definitely. Again, using a holistic approach to the topics themselves and, to how to put across these principles and translate them into small countries such as Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah. How best they would work.
Yeah, but I think you cannot, transfer a sports system or a culture between nations.
Right.
But we can always learn from each other. You can learn something probably from our success, and we can learn something from your success and how you handle it and all that. So that's part of it, to have this dialogue and conversation between us that helps us, the small countries, in our fight against the big ones, So we need to stand together on this,
Definitely. So before we close off, the information for the public lecture series, when, time, and how do we gain access?
Okay, so the public lecture, it's free, first of all. It's open to the general public. It's on Saturday, the 18th of January at 2 p.m. at the Teaching and Learning Complex at UWI St. Augustine campus. For further information on the public lecture, you can go up to the department's website, Department of Management Studies, which is www.sta.uwe.edu/FSS for Faculty of Social Sciences/DMS for Department of Management Studies.
All right, excellent. So you've got the information there. You could always check it back on our Facebook feed if you need to go back and just write the information down. With me this morning, Ms. Calicia Gregoire, Sports Management Program Coordinator at UWI, as well as Professor Vidar Haldorsen of the University of Ireland, and he's also a sport consultant. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a short break and come right back. Stay with us.